Oh, okay. All right, good evening, and welcome to tonight's Select Board Public Hearing, July 1st, 2024. This hearing is called by the Select Board to provide information and allow public comment regarding the floodplain management ordinance for the town of Lyman. Copies of the ordinance are available. Before we begin, I'd like to start off addressing some general housekeeping. During the public hearing, public members will be called upon by the board so as each individual who wishes to participate may have an opportunity to do so. When called upon, please step up to the podium, state your name and your town of residence. We ask that audience members be respectful when a public member is addressing the board and keep all side conversations out of the public hearing. Any individuals being continuously disruptive may be asked to leave the public hearing. Thank you all for attending tonight's meeting, and the floor will now be open for public comment. Come on.
Bridget Grenier from Lyman. I was just here curious to see if the flood maps had changed and if you had new copies of the flood maps or
Okay.
I don't know if
I'm not
anyone's.
aware of them changing. I think that this is in place. Correct me if I'm wrong,
Um,
everybody.
Actually, I believe they did change.
Did
Yeah, when
And I
went
believe we
online-
do have them, at least I saw them somewhere.
When I went online and clicked on some of the links,
they? Yeah,
it did say there had been some changes.
okay.
And it said something about it was either zones or them being rated now, like with a 1, 2, 3, as to whether how likely they would be to have occurrences happening there. So I was just
Yeah.
curious.
We may have gotten it at the ORC, but I definitely saw it. So it's definitely out there.
Yeah. Okay. Just curious if you knew where we could find it or,
Yeah, if I can find it, I can post it on the website.
oh, that would be great.
I
Yeah.
just don't recall it coming through with the ordinance that they gave us. I feel like Peggy had to go on the FEMA website, but I don't remember exactly.
Okay.
Get the link right here.
Oh.
Perfect.
That was gonna be my question.
That was gonna be a question.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that we all didn't know the answer to it, but that we got the answer. All right. Anything else for consideration of the public hearing?
So she sent that to you or?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think in a previous meeting, there was discussion of a certain amount of a fine of some sort that was recommended, and my apologies, I can't recall exactly what the amount was and whereabouts in the ordinance that would be inserted.
Okay.
I-
think there was a-
What was that, Joe?
At a previous select board meeting, when this was reviewed, there was a recommended fine penalty of some sort that I believe was adopted, but I can't recall the amount or whereabouts in the ordinance it was inserted.
Would that be a fine to the town if we didn't pass an
No.
ordinance or to the,
No, it's like a permit fee.
So on page 6 of the ordinance itself, Article 4. Application fee and expert fee. So
Okay,
an
not fine.
application fee of $25 for minor development or $50
Okay.
for new construction.
Okay, not a fine, but a fee. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
And then again, correct me if I'm wrong, Lizzie, this is just an emergency one to get in front
Mhm.
now so that we're in line with seamless expectations, and then it would go as part of the
Yeah,
ORC
it's still
process.
the November ballot.
Perfect.
So this will be in effect for 90 days according to your charter. We'll have to do this again because there's 90 days gets us to like October or something. So you'll have to do it again until November.
Okay,
See what happens after November.
okay.
Question?
Yes. Yeah, it's the way that people can hear you online.
So is this something from what I'm hearing you say that's going to come up to vote
Yes.
This FEMA, okay,
So the purpose of this is an emergency to get it in place for the sake of FEMA purposes. And then it will be on the November ballot for all voters to vote.
oh,
actually vote
okay,
it.
so then you'll have what we would actually be voting on
Correct.
further down the road as
Yeah.
opposed to what you have.
It'll
Right.
be the same.
It'll be the same.
language.
But we'll be able to, find maps by that, have maps with it.
And will there be hearings prior to the vote? Another hearing like this?
There'll
And
be a public hearing on the ballot for the November election, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
the purpose of this again is just to permit people in town to acquire flood insurance if they wish. It's not a requirement by any means.
Okay.
Well, it's also,
It's-
we're part of, what is it,
In
the
order to qualify.
NFIP,
Mhm.
so if we didn't adopt if we didn't adopt this, we would lose like federal grant funding and stuff like that. There's a lot to it.
To be able to apply for FEMA.
I think when I put this up on the webpage too, I had included some of the synopsises I gave you guys
Mhm.
on what ifs.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I remember.
And the NFIP would be the National Floodplain Insurance Program.
Another member of the public has come in, I don't know if she wants to
Is there
speak on
anything
this
you
or not.
wanted to add or questions? Okay. Just want to make sure everyone had a chance to participate if they wanted to. Okay. All right, so with that, thank you for attending the public hearing. Before, there's going to be no further public comment. This will conclude the public hearing, and the board is going to close the public hearing and open into the regular select board meeting. So thank you everyone for attending. All right, so we'll go ahead and jump into our select board meeting. Welcome to the July 1st, 2024 regular meeting of the Lyman Select Board. This meeting is a public proceeding and is being recorded. Would you please join me in the pledge of allegiance? All right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so public hearing is completed. So then if we get to item B, we have to make a vote to put this into play as long as what we. are
Yeah, you're
gonna do.
voting to enact it as an emergency ordinance, but you want it to be effective July 17th. The requirement is that it's effective July 17th.
Okay.
I suppose you could have it effective sooner than that, but either way, you're
Either way,
gonna
we
have
have
to
to
come
do it
back to
again.
this.
The ordinance actually says the date in it.
Yeah.
So
Great.
So I'll make a motion to be enacted July 17th, an emergency ordinance for the flood plan management ordinance. That would be temporary and subject to town approval in November.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that?
I think if everybody listening, they should get a copy and read it because there are things in here that affect building codes and things of that nature. So I think you really want to pay attention to this.
Any other discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll move into the next, public input. Public in attendance will have up to 5 minutes to address the board. Please use the podium to address the board and please be respectful of others.
One at a time, please.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna keep moving. We'll jump into mail.
Yes, this is,
Oh, I do have something really quick.
Okay.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
I do.
Time's
Come
elapsed.
on up. Ooh, I was choked too. All right.
Michelle Felicetti, 32 Red Brook Drive. Because it just happened to me, so I was like, oh, that's a good idea. There's a lot of broken links here and there on the website. Like I was trying to click agendas and meeting minutes from here under Select Board Office. Under a different page, it works. This one, it doesn't. I was thinking, we have an IT committee. Couldn't they just meander and click in the broken things report? So that way it could go to the IT guy, because Lindsay does not have time to sit and click on links. But just, I assume we have an IT committee for a reason. That would be a good one to potentially look for. I know I used to have to review my websites, look for spelling errors, grammar wrong, links that were broken, update links. Not that they would be updating links, the IT person would, but at least broken links would be fixed so people looking for information could find it.
So you're saying it's not me?
It's not
So
Right,
I
I always thought it was just
I
me.
thought it was me.
No, they're broken. They just, it happened. Just things get
Okay.
updated. Like if like the WordPress gets updated, it, and it can jiggy things. So, there have been a few that I've even noticed that I can't. So if I know how to skirt around it, but not everyone does. So maybe that could be a recommendation to IT committees to help the website out and use their brains to find all the little nits in there, that, as Dawn would say, that are holding up the links. That would be awesome. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Michelle, would it be possible for you to put together a list of the broken links that you've confronted so far for the IT committee?
There's so many.
Okay.
This is a simple one, like I stated it. So this one's easy. Just Select Board Office.
Mhm.
When you scroll down to agenda and meeting minutes,
Mhm.
broken. It says page cannot be found when you click on it. No results found. So that's one, but I've encountered different ones. So it's just simple stuff like that. But they're going to be, unfortunately, they have to go to every page. It's time consuming, but that's why we have committees. So it's important work.
Okay.
When do they meet?
They don't have like regular meetings, so I've talked to them about this, if they want to like submit a report periodically. Coincidentally though, I do have a meeting with one of them this Wednesday, so I could bring that up. But typically they're kind of doing their own thing. And we haven't given them like, the only thing I've given them to look towards, and I send them the email updates, is like the connectivity main authority to just look into like extending the broadband lines, which there's a lot of information and resources on that, but it's like you really gotta kind of dig into it. And so, I've forwarded those things to them just to periodically, they have webinars, like they have little information series. Some are not the most fascinating to get into because I've sat in some of those, but so I've pushed that to them. But otherwise, like the board, we've not really tasked them with anything very specific, so I can bring that up to them on Wednesday.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Mhm.
could I please ask what we have to do to get the TVs and the,
You can hire someone to install them.
that's it?
Are you talking, what are you talking about?
The cameras to, you want to see these smiling faces out there.
I know. So we had a talk during our budget season, last budget season. We talked about projectors and cameras and everything like that. So I am currently developing a plan towards that, but there's a lot of logistics to it. One, if you want multiple cameras and you want to toggle the screen back and forth, you're going to need to hire somebody to sit there and do that manually. There isn't like a special program that can just do it magically when you want it to.
They can't be just a split screen?
I don't know. So in having that as well too, like we can probably look into split screen opportunities, but it's, we need to finance like a software program or something that we could do that. YouTube is a really basic platform we can just upload videos on. If we want to get into like the nitty gritty and make it like a really cool podcast session, that's where we start getting into expenses and costs and what that takes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, we set aside a chunk of money, and I think you were looking at what the best plan was for this.
Well,
So I was less interested in the toggling back and forth.
and so were we at the time.
I don't want to be the one manning that. I can't do that and interact and engage with you guys in a meeting at the same time. You would literally have to hire a personnel staff that does that. So I do remember that conversation, we sort of put that on the back burner.
Yep.
We talked about getting the TVs hooked up to HDMI. Nobody's really utilizing them. And even if we did hook them up to HDMI, my eyes are not gonna see that screen. So I think we landed on a projector because more committees are using the projector that Michelle has let us borrow graciously. That's getting more use out of it than any of this other equipment. So I think I'm gonna go that route and get a nice projector that has a daylight screen and stuff like that.
Michelle Felicetti. Where you do have the extra TVs, it will come in handy if you had a Zoom, if it was on a little cart that you could put up so Zoom, people could see who's on Zoom, facing here, not have to turn around and look who's on
That's
Zoom.
not up there, but
Yeah.
we need someone to install the TV.
Right, so that would really be the only use is during a Zoom, right, where you could see the participants on the screen. So that's the only,
Yeah.
but
Other than
yeah,
that,
split screens and toggles, like it's a lot.
That's easy.
Do we have the bracket,
Oh, yeah, we got everything.
a corner bracket?
I needed somebody, I need like some manpower to put that up. Can't do it myself, sorry.
All right,
I would too. It's the same size as that TV, so. I'll use it.
okay. So we'll move into mail.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, let's see, we just have a document from Maine Municipal Association, that's this, right?
Yep.
Talking about nominations for the Legislative Policy Committee, to elect a representative, there's an enclosed ballot. I don't know if we've ever done this, but I guess if people, Lindsay, is it safe to say that if anyone has thoughts about that, they could coordinate that, or do we just
We,
sign, we just vote?
they're due by 5 PM, August 1st.
I see this now.
Yeah, and if you're not obligated to vote, if you don't want to, I mean, you have no opinion on it as a board, that's your guys' prerogative.
Yeah.
It's just, it wins.
Okay.
So I have a question, because it says, if you're not familiar with any of the candidates, please review the candidate profiles on the back of the ballot. Feel free also to contact candidates directly.
So in the signature packet is what came in the mail. So you can look at that and see if there's anything on the back of it. I didn't know.
Oh, okay, because I'm like, then on the back, it says candidate profiles are on the reverse side.
Yeah.
I'm like,
There's a green page, just the
Right.
ballot.
Okay, there we go.
And
I would,
Maybe you can scan
Move
through all the.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
so
put
come
a
through.
blurb on the back, if anybody's curious about that. Pass that around.
I think if we want to take action on it, we should do it at the next meeting, that we can
Yeah.
review
Yeah,
and get information on the candidates and what it exactly is
yeah,
on our own.
agree. We don't have, if you want to,
You can leave this out for like to get a copy of it. Okay.
it's totally fine. All right,
does it, tabling that require a vote or just,
nope, I think we just say that it's an item of mail and
okay?
we can come back to it if we want. All right, July 17th, 2024, June 17th, 2024, meeting minutes. In here for review.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes as written.
I'll second.
Any discussion on those?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Would it be possible to include with the minutes the report that was conducted by the CEO, the fire chief, and also the electrical inspector on the enterprise that was the subject of the public hearing. Reference to that document was made during the public hearing, and it deals with public safety, public health,
Yeah.
and therefore I think it would be a good idea to include that.
It's in the packet, right?
It was in the packet. I think it was submitted to me after the packet got posted.
Okay.
Anyone can request those documents, and I know that Rusty Green is actively working on. So if there were any issues, like the electrical inspector, the CEO would have been like, hey, you're not working on this, we have to do it.
Okay.
Public document, public information, I would suggest that be included, attached to the minutes.
I think that's possible, right?
It's totally up to you guys.
How do other people feel about that? I don't think it hurts anything. So, all in the same spot.
But these are also there's a word you use that this is not the actual minutes, it's the minutes, but it's the tape, the
Right.
YouTube video is the record of, yes, thank you, that was.
That's the word.
it
Yeah,
could-
and the Freedom of Access Act, everyone has the right to request, copies of these documents, whether they want to inspect them or obtain a copy, and so, we could post every single public record on the internet and you would never find anything on our webpage because there's so many public records. So that's why the Freedom of Access Act is there,
Right.
so that everybody has the right to ask for these documents.
And we had that in our packet. I guess my question is, was that in the packet that was online?
I don't believe it was.
Because
I
we had
have to
just
go
gotten
back and
it,
check,
probably.
Because I think I
But don't-
remember it came in
Okay.
Yep, it was
kind of
later.
last minute.
It was dated the 14th, I believe.
Yeah, I think it came in last minute. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess my only feedback on it would be that if we were gonna do it in this instance, I would wanna make sure that we do it in every instance so that everyone's treated consistently. And I think that could get
Mhm.
comfort.
Yeah.
Well, I think the precedent already has been set in terms of adding material to minutes that were posted previously.
Okay.
And again, if no reference was made to the document
Right.
in the course of the public hearing, I think it'd be one thing. But it was referred to and there was discussion with the applicant
Well,
with respect to the findings.
there may have been precedents, but then we kind of stopped attaching things to the minutes because that precedence I think you're referring to is like confrontation between separate parties. So, maybe you're not, but I'm just saying, we've kind of gotten away from attaching things to the minutes. Again, if there's a specific individual that's like come to you as a select board member, and then you will probably, come across that from time to time, you always feel free, like, Freedom of Access Act, you can ask for these things, and I can typically respond really quickly. Legally, I have to respond within 5 days.
I think at that meeting, one of the meetings that was done, the board basically felt that it was redundant because it's forwardable. So I don't think we have to attach it as long as we have access to it.
I would just think then, my own opinion is everything that gets discussed, are we going that far that if somebody mentions a document,
Right.
are we attaching everything to the
So-
minutes?
I mean, past
I think
precedents,
that's-
right, we've had certain members from the public, they hand things out at the meeting. It's never been attached to the minutes. A lot of times I have to chase it down to get a copy myself, because you guys will get stuff from public input. That's come up more than once, So you're right, we don't like attach everything that comes in, but I usually try to hunt you guys down to get a copy in case somebody does forward it. I can be like, yes, I got it, it's right here.
Could a citizen just ask for a copy or do they have to go through the FOA process? For
Well,
this?
yeah, you can just ask for a copy. So the FOA, you're not required to put it in writing. You can just verbally ask for it. So if they want to stop in and they ask for something, so long as I'm like not in the middle of a meeting, I have 5 days to respond, that I got your request, here you go. So it depends on the FOA request itself, but typically people will email me or call me. I will follow up in writing very often, and so that I can close it out and say, yeah, here you go, I'm closing out this request. Because there's a record retention for that, you keep it for like a year after they've been completed.
But if I may, Madam Chair, I think the important thing is that the folks out there are aware that this document exists and if they wish to take a look at the results of the inspection conducted by the electrical inspector, the chief, and the fire chief, and the CEO. It's there for them to examine.
Perfect. That works for me.
Okay.
Everybody good with that?
Yep.
All right.
I'm sorry, just
Yep.
if I may, the vote on the chair, I think the numbers, motion passes for Jessica Picard as chair. Should it be 410 as opposed to 401? Because usually the third number is the abstention, and that shows in the subsequent motion.
Which one is that?
That is, let's see, motion passes for Jessica Picard as chair, 401, and I think it should be 410.
Gotcha.
Any other discussion on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on to warrants. We have payroll warrant number 49 in the amount of $28,610.27.
So moved.
Second it.
Any discussion on that? All in favor?
No.
Aye.
And then we have accounts payable warrant number 50 for FY '24 in the amount of, excuse me, $106,523.97.
So moved.
A second.
Any discussion on that? warrant?
I'm kind of shocked how much a slide costs. But that blew me out of the water. I saw that, I thought it'd be like $400 or whatever, it's double that, close enough, but it'd be good to have one.
Any other discussion on that warrant? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Accounts payable warrant number 51 in the amount of $853,995.37.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that warrant? All in favor?
Aye.
And abstain from that one because the community library is on it.
Under item 5, unfinished business franchise agreements. Looks like we're still kind of in a holding pattern. Is that
Yeah, so he basically confirms that, what did he say, August
9?
9th
Yep.
goes in effect, so, sounds like he's gonna work on some things on his end, and we're still sort of just waiting.
So should we just be in a holding pattern until August 9th then?
Times.
We've been taxiing the runway for a long time now, haven't we?
It's a good one. It's a great one.
Madam Chair, just a quick question for clarification. I believe it was mentioned that a model agreement was produced and it's now being reviewed by MMA and Main Connectivity.
According to Tony, he's the, your consultant.
Okay.
Okay.
Where have you been, the planning board or something?
So discussion from the workshop, this is kind of just a placeholder on the agenda. I know we talked about this to some extent at our workshop.
Under new business, I put the amendments we talked about, so I
Yep.
drafted up some stuff you guys can consider. And then unless, I mean, we can take this off unless you guys want to kind of keep carrying it. I don't know what else.
I don't know that we have to keep
I think
carrying
we're in
it.
good standing for right now until something comes up we want to
Yeah.
address or.
I would agree.
Not to jump ahead to the new business part of it, but I do like the amendments. Amendment.
I think it's same kind of similar concept with this whole company picnic event. I think we kind of landed somewhere at the workshop as far as what we were thinking, unless anybody feels otherwise. about-
Yeah, then I'll just need to coordinate with you guys, who's bringing what, like in terms of like grills,
Yeah.
chairs, you know, whatever you guys can do.
If we did do it at the Pines, because I don't think we settled on any one thing. The big grill is the nicest, safest one, and it is the only one left. All the rest just disappeared.
So weird.
Don't know where they went. Actually, they went in the back of my truck and they're gone. But they were, I checked every one of those, and I can't believe we didn't have any fires. There was some that almost the whole floor of them was gone. There were, thankfully, the ones by the beach would have maybe started a little grass fire, but the ones in the pines really, when I saw that, it was a little bit scary because you get all the pine needles, all the dry brush, all of that stuff, and that would not have been good. And I think we also, need to look at for the committee, what we need to look at some ways, because a lot of the ones had been used regardless of the condition, and you could tell by what was left of the charcoal that it was not put out with water. It was just allowed to burn itself out. And then there was a few that still had charcoal briquettes around the edges, and they didn't go for whatever reason, but there was no, I don't believe, any water. So maybe we think about having some fire buckets or something nearby so that they can people can make sure things are extinguished before they leave. Some of them had little campfires in them. And maybe if that kind of misuse would continue, maybe we consider taking that big one out and putting it out back here so you guys can have barbecues at lunchtime if you want. I mean, I don't know, but I really, the safety issue concerned me, and I'm sorry I did jump ahead, so here I go.
That's okay.
Mentioning it was mentioned at a meeting by a staff member from the Y that they supposedly clean up and go around with a bucket with those. So maybe that's not being done. But they said they were responsible for those and cleaning them up. And it was right in a meeting. So maybe that's something to address with them as well, if it's not being cared for the way it's supposed to be.
I think sometimes with the rentals not happening right now, that people are wandering off maybe and using it
They're supposed
unknown.
to check them all.
Unknown, yeah, but I'm just,
Yeah.
not,
I think they are being used. They're rented out.
Good.
The schools are in use. Yeah.
All right, so discussion on pest control and / tick spraying. There's a quote for that. in the
yikes.
packet.
So this was brought up a while back ago, I think right when tick season was started, so looking into it. So Holly, the Parks and Rec director, she reached out to the person in Lyman. They do residential only, they don't do commercial, but she had to find someone who does commercial. They provided this quote, and you can pick and choose, anywhere in the middle, all, none, whatever you want. So they did kind of break it off that way. Holly's recommendation and her only recommendation to that was she would consider Chadbourne Field if you were gonna go this route for music in the park and their playground, I think. But she wasn't really super concerned about any of these other places that you quoted.
I would say as a user of Clemena Fields, that really should be considered as part of this. Maybe not, I think just the ticks. I don't think the mosquitoes, I don't remember mosquitoes being problematic over there this year, but the ticks were thick.
That was gonna be my
Little kids
question.
have, 3-4 ticks on them in a matter of what, 20 minutes? I mean, it was bad, so.
My question is, I don't, and if I may have missed it, but I didn't see what exactly is it that they're spraying for mosquitoes and for ticks?
Yeah, I don't think you put that in there.
It's not, and that's,
We can go back and ask some questions. We just submitted this to
Yep.
open the dialogue.
In full disclosure, I did call and have a conversation with Lindsay today about this because I was like, what in their pricing, how they have, like the tick application for Bunganut, for example, it's, the price, but then there's the extra fee plus that fee times 2. So what was the extra fee? That's the same cost as mosquito and tick plus 2 tick application. So I was confused, like, one, do they have like a tank for just spraying for mosquitoes and a tank just spraying for ticks? Or if it's combined chemical, why would we do mosquito and tick if the tick application is gonna cover mosquitoes at the same time? Yeah, my personal
I'm sorry, Heidi.
feeling is that I would entertain this when we were receiving some kind of funding from like park use, like if Bunganut is being used and people are paying the fee to use the park, then that would be then when we would go and start spraying it.
I think it's a process. I think you need to start applying.
Oh, I understand. I have my yard
Before-
sprayed. I
Yeah.
understand the whole process. But I just think that, we've talked in budget about how, we have a camera, we add a camera somewhere, and then we have a fee that we have to add on to the budget every year because it's being, we have this maintenance, and this is something else that we're just adding on to the budget. And if we're gonna start charging for the field use, maybe that field use money is some way that we could then not burden the taxpayers with, having it sprayed. It
Mhm.
could self-fund it.
Like a surcharge.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of, you're using the field, you're paying this fee, we're using your fee to spray for ticks and mosquitoes.
Mhm.
That's my opinion.
Since it's already July.
Yeah.
I think this is nice to have an idea, but I think, we open it up to we get more quotes and find out what it is exactly and stuff and work it into the budget cycle next year. So you're saying, I know that I don't have kids in them, so I'm not,
I get it.
everywhere I go, I constantly working outside, I constantly am picking ticks off me, whether people spray, whether they don't spray. I wonder, I just don't know if it's how effective it is.
And I'm not saying I don't know that any other fields are doing that. I just know we experienced this year, which is the only reason why I brought it up. Is
That's the
part
only
of
thing
saying,
ticks
like,
though.
They're gross,
I don't get ticks at any other fields we go to.
Right.
Probably that's the only one.
they're gross. I know they are. It's nasty, but
Well, Madam Chair,
yes,
have these locations been treated in the past?
I don't think so, no.
I don't know that we've ever done that.
Yeah, I just brought it, I brought it up because again, it was pretty bad. And somebody had said, oh yeah, they spray for them. And I was like, I don't think we do. I feel like I would know we did that. So I asked and we don't, so.
I don't even remember ever talking about it during budget season when I was on the budget committee previous to this.
Yeah.
So interesting.
I mean, I think that's okay. I think it's part of, unfortunately, part of life too, so.
Well, Madam Chair, I quite agree with Vicki. It'd be interesting to find out exactly what material agents they intend to use. Maybe a little further investigation on it. I agree with you, Jessica, that I think the greater concern is less mosquitoes, more the ticks. Lyme disease, I had a bout of anaplasmosis last October from a tick bite. So protecting the kids, if this is effective and not threatening to them in any way, maybe further pursuit on this.
I think what we're looking for is an MSDS sheet. It tells all the properties of the
Yes,
chemical that
Exactly that.
that they're spraying.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Are we tabling it for more discussion? Do you want to hold it for budget conversations? And it probably isn't gonna, if you do this, it probably won't go into.
It's not gonna fix anything this year, and we don't have a budget, so I think if you're able to ask for like an MSDS or like the info on exactly what they're spraying or spreading or doing, and then I think it folds into a budget conversation this
I
year.
mean, because, and if we decide to go with it for next year, we could always do, we could do an RFP over the winter and get it all in line.
Yeah, if you want to do everything, you don't have to do everything.
No.
on here. You might just pick, chat forms on that.
I also believe, I'm sorry.
No, you first.
I also think that it would make a difference to, with the, they recommend the 5 applications. So they're not guaranteeing they're killing every tick on the planet.
Right.
So I think if there are lots of ticks there, that 2 or 3 applications and not 5 would probably really slow them down a lot. And then if it's continued year after year, eventually you're gonna really make a difference.
So my concern now is that we've talked about it. I don't have little kids, to do that, but I'd feel horrible if one of these kids ended up getting Lyme,
Yep.
So I think it's a serious thing. I understand the budget concerns. But I think, personally, I think the application pending the MSDS sheet, I really think it should be sprayed if there's a concern. Who said that there was three ticks on one? Okay. And that's just, my gut feeling, totally understand the budgetary, but any fees associated with any fees that we charge, I don't see why we can't do a surcharge, or at least try and do a surcharge, which I'm sure the parents would understand, and what it would be a couple of dollars a piece is what it would be,
I think
I'm sorry, no?
Would you recommend doing a treatment at that field that she's talking about, like right away? In the meantime, we do the rest of this, because I understand your concerns about that, and I totally get it. I feel the same way. But I also, being that it's kind of late,
I think that's more of a question for the applicator. Did we miss the window?
that's a good question.
I'm not sure we did because of the rain that we've had. You really need dry weather.
So we're gonna have to, if we're gonna do this right now, this isn't something you can pull out of capital improvements, because it doesn't really classify under that.
Yep.
So there really isn't, you can pull it out of buildings and grounds reserve, but you're gonna have to look at what you want to sacrifice in lieu of.
Great.
And we're not collecting any fees for the field use until January 1st of 2025. Well, we said we would start implementing it, so we probably won't collect them until April or May, if that.
Yep.
Which then, we have to probably in the next foreseeable budget year, start working in some sort of lapsing accounts that money goes into, that we can take out as specific for those reasons, because otherwise it's not gonna work the way you're thinking it's gonna work.
I apologize. I thought that was already implemented.
No.
I thought we were getting fees.
We've never, no, we have not yet.
Information, there was a conversation the board started quite some time ago, I think it was like spring. And, so we've just been collecting information, it's taken this long to get this quote. So
Right.
some of these other questions, I can have Parks and Recs, the director look out and try to find that information. It might not be a month or two, before we get the information you're looking for. So I don't know that it's very feasible to do it right now.
Okay.
Right.
Well, that's what I was asking.
Try,
If
but
that was your
it's gonna be
intent.
tough.
Okay, so if we land, maybe if you want to ask for an MSDS sheet to see what exactly they're spraying, and then
Get
see,
some clarification on the pricing.
Yeah.
maybe just some clarification on if it makes, like, would it even be effective if we did do it?
Yeah,
Like
if you
now,
started now.
Or are we too
versus
late, or is there
Yeah.
a schedule kind of thing? I think that at least gives us an opportunity to keep the conversation going.
Yeah. So then, instead
Because
of.
the place is
tabling
packed with kids from the Y. Mine included.
Yeah,
it,
I could hear them all when I was working
Instead of
there.
tabling it to like a budget workshop, you want to just table it to next meeting. Again, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean.
If-
as
if
long as
we
they
get
give
the
you
information.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
Is that okay?
Okay, we said the same thing.
at the same time. I really gotta stop doing that.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just to clarify, Amber, the question that you had about the pricing, just for example, Bucknut Field, the TIC application, $238.50 per application. And then under that, $962.50, was that the discrepancy that you?
Yeah, so where's the 962.50? Because if he's talking 2 applications for TIC, that should be 500 bucks?
Yeah,
There's
240
also on the
twice.
front says something about, we recommend every month, 4 weeks apart, which comes up to approximately 5 applications per year. I mean, that math still doesn't math.
Yeah,
but
that's
Mhm.
I'm
that's
just
where.
saying,
Okay,
it's confusing.
thank you.
All right. Item E, town hall expansion.
So
That's
there's
just
not,
another-
you guys in the workshop we had talked about putting this on the standing item.
Like, why was
Leave it as a standing item if you want. I think that the thing is I'm always gonna update you when things come in to update you.
Right.
So, I mean, do you wanna leave it as a standing item or I just update you periodically? Because things don't move incredibly quickly. Right now, like as you all know, we talked about, we're looking to do the contingency agreement with the neighbor. So legal right now is drafting that up.
I like having it, and even if it's just, there's no new update, I think that then if anybody's looking at this, they can be like, oh yeah, that didn't completely go away, kind of
It
thing.
will never completely go away. Like I'm always gonna bring stuff to the board when it rises to the level.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, I get it, I just.
Then there's certain things that are on the agenda that somebody might be like, oh, look, I'm going to find out about the town hall expansion, and then they come, or they're watching it and they're another 45 minutes into a meeting and they're like, oh, no updates, this is just something we leave on there all the time. So
Or if you leave it on there, when you print it, we put no update right on it.
Could do
That'd
that.
be a possibility.
People do watch the meetings too. So it's exactly like Amber says, like those people came for that public hearing and then they were out after the public hearing, so.
Yeah.
You know, had that public hearing been at the end of the meeting, they would have waited through the whole meeting just for that purpose. I mean, fine either way, I'm just letting you know, I'm not gonna leave you guys hanging.
Yeah.
Well,
don't-
I
don't think
appreciate
you
that.
are. I don't think you are, I don't think that was why we put that on there, just to be
I think-
clear, I don't think we were
Yeah.
like, oh, that Lindsay.
I think the reasoning behind that was so that it was in front of us, so that we didn't forget about it or it didn't go,
Right.
and that was, previous board, that was a discussion that was such.
Right.
We can do whatever we want.
I can go either way, so I'll go with the consensus of the group here.
Drop it.
Just drop it.
For now.
Everyone okay with that?
Unless there is an
Unless
update.
there's an
Unless
update.
there's an
Yeah.
actual update. Okay.
And then we would know that, oh, okay, it's back on the agenda, we know we have something to talk about.
That works.
Madam Chair, if I may?
Yes.
Just for those who are in the viewing audience, if you wanted to have a nice visual representation of what has been planned, at least so far, if you go to the June 3rd Select Board meeting packet on page 66, there's that diagram of what's been, at least to date, proposed.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So we got a department and committee reports. I think the fire chief just had to leave us.
Yeah.
He also sends out a nice all hands report, which is in here.
Is that why he ran out?
Um,
He knew
I
he
don't
was
think
next,
that's
so
why.
he
I
ran
think he
out.
actually was patiently
No, there
waiting for
was-
us, and then I heard.
Yeah, there was a
chatter over
tone.
there, so, I think that takes precedence over hanging out with us, so. Just a lot of good information in there as far as total incidents. and things
I-
like that. I'd like seeing this, so.
Me too. I think it's important, very detailed. We talked the other night, and I feel like this is gonna be the year that we top 1,000 calls. And so do they.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And there they go.
Yeah.
So that's good information to have. I guess we'll roll right in if you have any fire commission
Well,
updates.
I went to the first meeting, and it was interesting, and I thought it was going to be at the end of the month because this one was scheduled at the end of the month, but because of Lyman's town meeting, Dayton's town meeting, and all, it's off schedule. So if we leave it as a report on the first meeting of the month, it's gonna be before the meeting, and so I'll have to be telepathic, and I don't really know how to do that, so
It's fair.
it's really interesting, and just that one meeting, the first meeting, it really has opened my mind, and I've learned how they think about things into the future. And one of the questions that they had that we discussed a little bit was about they went on some inspections with the code enforcement officer, as you know, and if that was gonna be an integral thing, or if they were gonna end up doing all that side of code enforcement and things like that, and how do we see it? So I'm not telling you that this is the direction, this is something that they are asking to think about.
Right.
And I had never, ever considered that, nor do I want to. I don't think it's broken if they're going along with,
So like
Right,
right now, the
but-
code enforcement officer, like, it's kind of by request. So it depends on what type of inspection they're
Mhm.
doing. If, they have to inspect certain things, if they feel like they need someone who specializes in like life safety code, like the fire chief, she'll request them, hey, do you have a minute to come out with me?
Yeah.
But, some inspections are different. She might be inspecting a dock replacement, which has
Right.
nothing to do with fire safety.
right,
So it's sort of, it's at the discretion of the code enforcement officer, and that's been very flexible and agreeable with doing
And-
that.
personally, for now, I don't think it's broken. And I think it should stay the way it is for now. Like, they weren't asking to change anything, but we were talking about the future and how do you see the fire department, because it's getting more busy, more busy, more busy. And how do you see these things happening? And there was things that I never thought about in my life. And then, it was really interesting. It was a lot of housekeeping, warrants, to review the warrants like we do here. Talked about some people that, do we send them to collection or do we forgive their debt? Some of those things, that's all, fairly confidential, so that's all I'm gonna say about that. But these are all, that's what's supposed to, I never heard from the former select board member that was doing that. I never heard any reports. He didn't bring it to the board. So I want to be able to do that. Since you've entrusted me to do that, I want to be bringing that stuff to you whenever I can. I think it's important. And I thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
The next meeting is the 11th of July. And that one's out of place too. We're trying to work it back to the normal place.
Okay.
And anyone's welcome to attend. And those meetings start not at 6. They were starting at 5, but this last meeting we discussed starting at 5:15. The Dayton Select Board member asked for that, so it's gonna be at 5:15 at the fire station.
Next up is the Eco Main rep report.
Yeah, so I had forwarded an email to Lindsay for everybody to have. I was hearing from people around town that everybody was kind of up in arms about the transfer station employees asking people to break down their boxes. So I reached out to our educator at Eco Main, B. Johnson, just to get some wording so that I'm, talking about it correctly. And so B just said, we suggest that people break down their boxes to conserve space, especially with larger boxes when they run through our system, and that's at EcoMaine. The same goes for the transfer station. If the boxes are flattened, the more space there is in the hopper. The more space in the hopper, the less time is needed to compact the materials and the smoother the operation. And that's her understanding of why it's important to flatten the boxes. So I guess I would just ask people to flatten your boxes,
Yes.
but don't take it out on our transfer station employees when they're asking you to flatten your boxes. They're only doing their job. They're working for our benefit. Not all of them are residents of this town, so I just think that, just be nice to them.
I was actually gonna bring that up to you because when I was dropping off my recycling and thinking about you, I actually witnessed a gentleman, resident, who was not happy at all about being asked to flatten his boxes, and he was kind of rude to the attendant.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, it's like, maybe I am telepathic because you've done this.
Well, and she did suggest that they could come out to the transfer station and do some, EcoMaine education, like kind of on the fly. I know they've been up there before. God, it's been a long time since I've seen them up there. And they would stand at the compactors and kind of like guide people. But I don't think that safety-wise that we could do that again. So they would be willing to come and either set up a table somewhere, for people who are looking for the education. But I do have an idea of the library is doing the yard sale this September. So I thought that would kind of be like a neutral area where I would ask EcoMaine to send some of their educators out and they could have a table and then people could go to them and they could share, their knowledge that way. So I'm gonna reach out to Bea and find out which way she thinks is the best way to get more information out.
Right? There was a handout at one time about what was acceptable to go in, what was not. I found that really helpful.
I have some, I have some at the library too. If people are interested in, I can get them up to Randy. I don't know if they already have them at the transfer station. But I can send those up. They're just leftovers that we had from the Earth Day cleanup last year.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
Isn't that on the website as well? I believe so, on the
Information
recycling.
posted,
I think
don't
so.
want it
Yeah.
in the town
I think
report.
I got it in the mail.
And secondly, didn't we get some point break down cardboard beforehand up there? Flatten it and then put
I
it into
think
one
Randy
particular?
got some signs, he already ordered some signs to help out, just people get really frustrated and.
Change is hard. I understand that. I hate
Yeah.
change.
Like,
The first one to admit it, but
You don't have a
it's,
transfer station anymore and you gotta haul your trash up to Portland, that's an even bigger change to deal with when, you send everybody away, like all the employees and stuff.
Yeah.
I think overall they're doing really great up there, they just, we had the same issue in Parsonsfield, like educating awareness on recycling do's and don'ts. And a lot of people don't understand, like, I still put plastic bags, like, we have to pay a contamination fee in Parsonsfield because our trash gets picked up and hauled to Portland. And, a lot of people just don't know what's recyclable, what's not, and it's very difficult. So
I will
your
tell
efforts in
you-
trying to get public awareness out there.
I will tell you that nothing is funnier than when we're at an EcoMaine board meeting and they feed us when we have our board meeting once a month. And we all stand there and we look and where does this go? Like what, So, I mean, it is difficult because you're like, oh, plastic silverware. No, that's not recyclable. Oh, it's compostable now. No, it's only compostable if you have a certain facility that composts it. It's not like you can just throw it in your compost pile and it's gonna break down. It'll still be
Okay.
there. So it's not easy, and I'm not saying it is. And I'm certainly anyone that wants to reach out. I mean, my email is on the website
Right.
and they can certainly reach out if they have any questions.
I like the idea of like getting EcoMaine to come out to like the yard sale and the transfer station, because I think when you're talking, when you're having verbal conversations with people, that's gonna be the most impactful than just posting something on a webpage somewhere that's, it's up to them if they wanna go and
Yes.
seek that information
Yeah.
versus you're, going to this event and you run into someone, you start having conversations. I feel like that'll be more impactful.
Yeah, I like that hands-on.
Yeah.
Because then there's always, they're there to ask the questions of like, oh, why do my Amazon packages say that they're recyclable, but they're not?
Right.
Like then they can explain what's actually inside the packaging and all of that, so.
Can,
I'm sorry.
Which way?
But,
Go ahead.
Does Eco Maine have any PSAs, videos that could be
They
posted to
do,
the website?
and I don't know, I know I had emailed back and forth with Jamie and you at one time about getting some videos. And I know when Bee came here, she had looked at the videos that, like, Waterboro has some, but she felt they were a little bit older. And so they have been talking about updating those.
Yeah.
So it's probably just a matter of them getting their educational sessions recorded.
Right, because I'm sure things have changed, but
Mhm.
yeah, if they send me any videos, I can put them up on the webpage.
Okay,
Or-
I'll reach back out to Jamie.
What
and
about the
ask.
possibility of recording our own? Fold into that, not just what goes here and what goes there, but also a topic that we've been speaking about time and again, the relative cost of the tipping fees as opposed to recycling. Maybe a little bit of a chart there.
Do you have a
Tracking.
recommendation who would be responsible for that?
Oh, Amber.
That was fast.
I'm
That was a
not-
fast answer.
I'm not good at making videos.
I'm really interested. I am really interested if you can find out for me. How many hundreds of years would it take to break down a spork? The spoon and the fork.
Well, if it's.
I'd like to know
white
how long that would-
plastic,
Yes, the white plastic spork.
I will ask, but my guess is infinity.
A long time.
It's not gonna break down.
No, I didn't think so.
And the compostable ones, they only are compostable when you mix them with chemicals to start that breaking down process.
Doesn't that defeat the purpose of the,
Well,
Mhm.
that's.
Kinda does.
Yeah, that's why they.
Michelle.
Could you do a rack card that the employees could hand out when someone's giving them, this is how, kind of to diffuse, hey, this is how to go by, and that could show you a breakdown of your costs.
Yeah, I
I-
think then you having to, then it's like, oh, you're giving me grief. I just
But
think.
just like, this is what we have to follow, and then that could have a breakdown of the savings of.
I don't want to put the transfer station employees in awkward situations.
Yeah, and it
Where
is
they're
on
already
this-
kind
I'm
of-
trying to remember. if
It's
it
on the
came-
side, right? They were the do's and don'ts. I
Yep.
got it,
There is some information.
I
Yeah.
think getting it in with the
On there.
tax bills helpful. I feel like that's how I got it one time. It was just this little, not a bookmark. It was a little
Oh, really?
better than a
Because-
bookmark.
Did anyone ever open those inserts? Like, I've been talking about this with the tax collector and she was like, I don't think anybody reads those things. Really? Because
Yeah,
people,
me
like,
too.
they come in and
I was excited to see there was so much on it this last.
Yeah,
time.
it was-
She'll be
yeah,
like,
exciting.
Thank
she'll
you.
be like, it's in your insert. And they're like, what's that?
I don't know. I took that
Well-
EcoMaine thing and put it on the refrigerator at my
Yeah,
house.
I can see about getting some of those.
I don't know. I just-
Yeah.
I know at USM, everything has to be very visual, so we actually, and
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting we go this far, but like, literally like, the compostable paper plate is not a used one, but like, on
Yeah,
the
it's like
board.
pictures
like
or
an actual
displaying more than
physical.
words.
We have pictures at EcoMaine.
It's not even a
on the-
picture, it's
on
the actual items, like the
Yes,
coffee
we
cups,
have
the whole
those.
thing. But we also have somebody whose job had paid and dedicated to doing just that type of stuff, so.
We did
Go
a,
ahead.
so I don't know why I'm thinking of this, and I'm sorry, but I just want to ask the question. So the PSA,
Mhm.
when we have an executive session,
Okay.
this is like a YouTube question. When we have an executive session and you start a meeting and then at the end of the meeting, so there's a part one and a
I think
part
I'm gonna
two.
stop you right there. I know where you're going with this.
Can,
No.
Can-
where
you
do
can't,
that. No.
you can't
why couldn't we?
put part
We
one
said
and part
being
two,
on hold.
and then during that intermission, have a
No.
PSA?
Wouldn't it be
You can't do that?
It'll take some editing.
Oh.
skills and,
All right.
But when you, like,
That
when you
was-
listen
Just
to
a thought.
music when you're on hold.
Yeah, exactly.
I like silent, so I like the
Just
black
like,
screen,
yes.
just go.
It takes a little more than.
I only had one comment to add to that. The man who was having a fit over breaking down the boxes and the employee, neither one of them knew that I was a select board member. I was just a person getting rid of my recycling. And I want to say that employee handled himself so stellarly. Like, when we were talking about nominating somebody or give them a gift card because we noticed this, like that would have been an opportune time for that. I would have done that.
Good to hear that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was proud of him.
Anything else from your Eco-Maine report?
No, I think that's it.
Oh.
Madam Chair?
Great,
Just-
yes.
An offer maybe over a cup of tea, we can discuss maybe putting together a PSA, some technical assistance as well. Maybe have some of the fellows who work at the transfer station participate in this so that folks can become familiar with their names and a bit more.
They're not down for that.
You know?
I feel like they're kind of,
not in favor of like doing an employee. They're very, they're very low key. They
Just wanna
don't,
do
they
their job.
don't like being
Yeah.
put up on the pedestal or in the
No.
limelight, so.
Yeah.
But if you guys did
It's the,
something, I think they would appreciate that, or, or if we even got Eco-Maine to, Eco-Maine update stuff, like, they'll appreciate those things if like, we put that out there. So
Yeah.
They do not want to be, they would never come to a meeting here and want to
yes,
publicly.
yeah. Randy watches our meetings, so Randy's probably at home going,
I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable.
yeah.
Oh,
But I did
But-
want to just say that I thought he handled himself so well. It was,
Yeah,
that
and I
was
think,
awesome.
I think they'll appreciate hearing that too, and it's nice to
Yeah.
get the good kudos and stuff out there.
But Joe, we can talk afterwards.
All right, we'll do that.
Perfect.
Mhm.
All right, moving on to new business, discuss the upcoming referendum.
Ooh, yay.
All right,
Documented.
I just put this on here because there's a bit of a process when it comes to like November referendum. So the list I gave you, I made mention, not all of it has to go on the November ballot. You guys can choose some of this stuff if you'd rather put it to the voters sooner. You can do a special town meeting. The question is, participation levels vary when you do that. So it's entirely up to you. If you do put stuff on the November ballot, you have to sign, by law, you have to sign a referendum order. And it's 60 days within the election. So I put September 3rd as the deadline because that's your first meeting in September. So if your meeting after that would go past the deadline. So just bear that in mind when you're putting stuff to November, which I'll be like, the ORC is gonna have stuff put together that'll, we will generate that stuff for you. But if you're thinking, because things come up last minute sometimes, oh, can we put this to the voters? So if you're getting close to this deadline, probably not. If you come up with an idea, but these are the things that we've talked about, we got ORC working on, we've talked about in past budget meetings, we've talked about in past workshops. Let's see, so we're moving the Board of Assessment Review, we talked about that, per MOA's recommendation, because last budget, it was requested to hire a secretary for the Board of Assessment Review, but just fiscally, it didn't make any sense. They meet like once every 12 years. There's no telling when somebody's going to appeal their assessment. And so because it's in the charter, we have to do the appeals through our Board of Assessment Review. However, if we didn't have it in the charter, MMA had said it'll default to the York County Commission, and they take care of all the appeals for assessment. So it just makes more sense that there's already a faction of government that would just handle that, wouldn't tie our hands. It would have to be, I checked with Brad, he said it would have to be like a secret ballot, town would have to vote on that. We talked about the question, voter opinion on aerial imagery services, it's kind of like a polling question.
Yeah.
the adoption of a domestic partner clause, I'm looking into a little bit more. So it's been something that's come up from employees and applicants that we've interviewed, that if it's something we offer, it's something we currently don't offer. Brad seemed to think it was something that, it's like when we switched to main PERS, the town had to vote to adopt main PERS. And so it's possible that the town would have to adopt a domestic partner clause for the health benefits. So I'm getting a little more information on that, and then we'll get updated. And then the land swaps and the.
That was in
roads
the-
all-
I thought that was in the new personnel policy, actually.
It's not, I
It's
did
not,
check into it,
okay.
it doesn't specifically say
All right.
that, but even if we put it in there, we'd still have, it seems like the town would have to vote to adopt it, but I'm getting some clarification from Brad for the moment. And then there's the land stuff we talked about, the Goodwin Mills Cemetery and the land swap here, so. Are any of these things, other than like ORC, things you want to put to the voters sooner than later, or are you comfortable with November ballot?
I think November, I think we fly.
Mhm.
Except maybe the cemetery and the land. Do we put a small price on it so that it is sold?
We don't, well, the.
Because
land
donating
swap-
is different. No, I'm talking about the one for the cemetery.
Oh, gotcha.
The land swap thing, we're waiting for that from the legal stuff.
Well, even if you put a small price on it, you'd have to, the way the warrant article's worded in terms of like selling or bidding land or whatever, it'd have to go out to everybody. So like you could say you're gonna sell it for $1 and do, a auction, but then all the public,
Okay.
anybody would be allowed to come in and place a
Yeah.
bid. And you can choose whatever bid
So,
you want.
so I guess then that would be wise to also put on the ballot in November.
Yeah.
And ask the question because it only really recently came up and was taken seriously and
I don't think they would mind waiting, if they knew they didn't have to compete with other potential buyers on the market.
it really doesn't make any sense to put it out to bid. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not, that strip of land is really not good for anybody
Right.
except for them, unless we put in a sign, welcome to Lyman. But
Okay. What about the land swap? I mean, I'm waiting on a
Mhm.
contingency agreement, so I don't know when that
Yeah,
gets in.
I like the idea of just putting it, I think November is our best chance to get the largest audience.
Yeah.
Most participation.
Yeah.
It's important.
And I know that this, November's election is going to be heavily trafficked. So I feel like that'll give us the best way to get a feeling of what the will of the people is on a lot of these items. And I don't see any items that I don't want to know about.
So typically, like what I do when it comes to like signing the referendum orders is I sort of wait a little bit closer to that 60-day period.
Mhm.
And sometimes things come up where they change and I hate to go back and have to change it.
Great. I'm cool with that.
So,
Madam Chair,
Any other,
Lindsay, to your knowledge, has the ORC set any hearing dates?
Nope, they haven't set any hearing dates. They just recently, they decided to add updates to the Lyman zoning map
Mhm.
because a couple years ago, we did get somebody to draft something.
Mhm.
It just didn't make it to town meeting in time.
Mhm.
So they're collecting signatures for that. Currently, they wanted to bundle it all together
I see.
for their public hearings just for convenience. But it looks like they have plenty of time to do public hearings. They're on a good track.
Thank you.
anything else related to the referendum? Oh, move right along. Item B is to review and approve the resignation of planning board member Jenna Wagner.
We'll make a motion, we accept Joe Wagner's resignation from the Lyman Planning Board effective as of June 13th, 2024.
I will second that motion. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Guess on a cruise or
Okay, I was gonna say.
schizophrenic vote there. Thank you.
Thank you for your service on that board, Joe.
Thank you.
Yeah, 3 years. How many years?
2010 maybe? When I started? 14.
Thank you.
Okay, we have to appoint an EMA, emergency management agent.
I'll make a motion to appoint Matt Duros as EMA.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on that?
Maybe explanation for the audience as to what the EMA is.
Emergency management.
Emergency
So the
management.
local version of FEMA that
If there was an
interacts with
disaster.
MEMA, which interacts with FEMA. Okay.
Yes.
Storm,
Mm.
that emergency management fund.
I heard motion second.
I apologize, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have to appoint an EMA deputy director.
I'll make a motion to nominate Thomas Hatch as EMA Deputy Director.
Second
Second.
that. Well, you can have it, Joe, if you want.
Hey,
Any discussion
As you
on
like.
that?
Well, he does have the certificate.
Yeah.
He's done the training.
Yeah.
He's definitely qualified for that reason, so I have no problem with that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Need to appoint a FOA officer.
I'll make a motion to appoint Lindsay as the FOA officer.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
I think we should use her full name.
Yeah.
Gagne, Gagny.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I think I did. But I already.
Yes.
forgot. It was
Oh,
so
yeah.
You did.
long ago.
Okay, this is kind of coming out of our workshop conversation, so to discuss and review an amendment to the select board code of conduct. And so it's on page 2 in red.
Mhm.
I think this is just sort of how we had a good discussion about how to handle public comment. I'll just go ahead and read it. So it just says the chair or presiding officer will determine how to address public comment inquiries and may answer the inquiry if reasonably able to do so, or may table to allow for further review into the inquiry, or may choose to take no action. The chair or presiding officer reserves the right to refrain from engaging in argumentative or debate forum and may redirect commentary as they deem necessary. So I like that. I think it just gives some flexibility so that if it's an easy answer, like we're not just like, hi, I'm
Yeah.
talking to you.
I totally agree.
So,
So I'm on a roll. I'll make a motion to accept that as written.
And I second that.
any discussion on that?
Madam
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I don't know if we want to include in here the language may choose to take no action. If a citizen comes up with a question, I think it behooves us to come up with an answer, respond to it in some fashion. And the second line, the chair or presiding officer reserves the right to refrain from engaging in argumentative or debate forum and may redirect commentary as they deem necessary. Seems to me to be saying that the chair or presiding officer may decide not to participate in the exchange, but not necessarily to gavel it down. So I would suggest language along the lines of the chair or presiding officer retains the authority to determine if an exchange during public comment is argumentative and can therefore be ruled out of order.
Kind of says the same thing. But
Yes, thank you. That's nice.
I firmly believe and always have believed that the meeting should run through the chair, and I think this covers that. And if we're allowing public comment at our select board meetings. Sometimes it really comes in handy and it's important, and sometimes it's not. But it's up to us. It's not a public hearing. We don't have to let the public speak, but we want input. So I just, there again, the chair runs the meeting, and if it's something you feel like we should talk about, that, I leave that up to my chair to decide, or whoever is running the meeting. I think this paragraph covers it.
And I think, I just wanna go on, normally I would say, like, I would agree with you, Joe, as far as take no action. I think the take no action leaves it so that if it's just, to me, I see that as if somebody is going to stand there and just make a super passive aggressive or comment, like, okay. That's how I interpret that part of it, but.
That's what I was gonna ask, if that, because that's how I took it, not choosing, like, we're not gonna ever act on anything, just at that moment. Like, because we did discuss also putting things that come from public comment onto the agenda, you know, for the
If it
next
makes
time.
sense,
to-
right.
Yeah, so that's how I read that, like, choose not to take action in that moment, like,
Well, I see the context as inquiries, as
Right.
not just a,
Yeah.
And I think everyone is different, so you can't cover all of it in one
Yeah.
paragraph.
The point of it is just to, you guys are acknowledging some flexibility.
Mhm.
And I agree, I think it covered it myself, but.
Any other discussion on it? All in favor?
I,
David, where you at on that?
Opposed?
Aye, I'm sorry.
So
Nay, just
before
because of that
the-
one.
okay,
That's fair.
phrase. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Okay, and then the last formal agenda item, discuss motion, regarding affirmative and negative board decisions for applicants for committee reappointment. So we discussed that in our workshop as well, about putting to vote whether or not to take a vote. I think I said that correctly. Okay.
and this is discussion, and maybe a motion.
Correct.
Okay. If we're moving to discussion first. I personally don't think we have to make a motion on it if we are not going to reappoint. Because the term is clearly specified when it starts and when it ends. And if we don't take any action, it ends when it says it ends. Simple.
I would agree with that.
We gave you a job.
All right.
I would agree with that, and only, again, I think I said this in the workshop as far as consistency. I think if somebody wants to like push that issue, then that's a conversation with the town manager. Just because I think there's a confidentiality to it too. Like I wouldn't necessarily want it broadcast if it was me, but that's just me.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
As I've said before, if someone's term is due and they have been duly notified of the impending expiration and have expressed in writing a desire to be reappointed, I think that alone deserves a vote on the part of the select board, even if it is in the negative. I think there are discrete ways of expressing the reasoning. And if indeed anyone serving on any board or committee is conducting himself or herself in such a manner that would disqualify them from reappointment, one would hope that that behavior would be addressed by the chair or other members of the committee in advance, so it would not come to the point where a reappointment would be negated.
Also, just for the record, nobody has come to me inquiring about this specific thing.
Mhm.
Just, you know, because people have, my door's always open. I've been saying that for like well over a year now. And, you know, people have the right to come to me as a town manager and say, ask questions, inquire away. And I've not received any questions or comments about it. So until the day I do, I'm always happy to share information that I can share, and, you know, I'm here.
I would like to just point out that happy anniversary. It's a year today.
It is, you're right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't make a cake. Sorry.
Any other discussion on this topic?
I'm not for it, only because of the discretion part of it. You know, I know it's good for some people, but others, it can be very embarrassing. I'm not for that, you know?
Could you, you're not for it,
I'm not for taking a vote. If somebody's not being reappointed, okay, or if somebody's not being appointed, and I'll be honest, I've been there. It's a painful process that I don't think is necessary.
okay, thank you. I wasn't sure which way was uncomfortable or you, that you didn't like.
Well, nonetheless, whether or not it is seconded, I would move that all decisions in terms of reappointing any board or committee members be subject to a formal select board vote.
Is that a motion, Joe?
That is a motion.
Is there a second to that motion? Right, okay.
All right, then.
Chief, you came back, so I'm guessing that you wanted to either share something with us or ask for information. No, you just wanted to come back and hang out with us?
No, the only thing I want to make sure, and I apologize, I didn't get a chance to call Lindsay today, but I did talk with the York County EMA director, and he feels a deputy director is a very good thing for the community.
And we did that.
We already did
Just
that,
appointed
yeah.
one.
So now you have some help.
Perfect, I like help.
Fantastic.
That was it.
Any other business tonight?
I have some other business, but unless you guys have something, feel free to dive in first.
Oh, I only saw your hand.
I'm sorry.
I wasn't just implying that you automatically.
We
had it.
discussed the capital improvement plan during the workshop, and it was recommended that be third-party inspections conducted of the properties in town.
Yeah.
Is an RFP in process for that, or?
So I'm only at the stage of just soliciting quotes, because I
Okay.
have no idea what it'll come in at. If it comes in less than 5,000, then we don't have to go the RFP route. So I haven't no new information on that. You know, so again, that's one of those things, like, when I get more information, I'm gonna be putting it back on the agenda.
And my apologies, a little bit confused with respect to what we had in the minutes. I think in the past we had Dave Riley clear the filter at Kennebunk Pond of debris. And then that was not done because DEP regulations intervened on that?
There's confusion that, like, we've never paid him. There's
Okay, yeah.
definitely a record, we've never paid him. So my recommendation is, we can't, transfer station plowing all over again.
Mhm.
It's really nice to have volunteer services, we can't rely on it, so we need to start talking about budgeting and planning for those things. And he has not come forward and said, he wants to volunteer and do it again, unless he does, but at this point, nobody's come forward to volunteer for that. If somebody, I am looking for quotes, but again, it's not gonna fall under capital improvement, we're gonna have to, sacrifice something or figure out planning in the future.
It's maintenance.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. Was an electrician hired for the installation of the Kennebunk Pond gate?
Yeah.
That has,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And
Sorry,
what-
what are you talking about?
Well, I do believe that there was necessity to hire an electrician for the,
Was it the range?
yeah,
So
right.
that was under warranty, the gate company came out and did that.
Okay.
And their recommendation was actually just leave the arms up during the day,
Uh-huh.
and they would only come down at night.
When we
But
want
they
it.
wanted to increase the magnetic field either way, so they did not do that. That was,
Okay,
we didn't need an electrician, it was the gate company. that
Yeah,
did it.
I thought the electrician was for the signs that blink, the crossing
So
signs.
we're still getting quotes on that.
okay. Thank you.
But did I also read somewhere about the the timing, that the arms could stay up longer instead of increasing the magnetic field, that if you put the timer on so that the arms stay up longer,
Yeah.
that there would be enough time for a trailer to
Yeah.
go
So
by.
He did that. Well, it was more that the arms would stay up all day. They
Right.
would not even go up and down. So you wouldn't even have to worry about, oh, it comes down and accidentally hits somebody so they would just stay up all day, but he did increase the magnetic field regardless.
It's called setting the limits. They have limits that they can set
Yeah.
for time frame.
I had an interesting thing. I mean, I drive by there because I live near there. The other night, it was after dark and there were vehicles in there and the gate arms were down.
People
Get
go
out.
in there.
You can still get out.
Yeah,
They
they
can still get out?
yeah.
Okay, I was
Yeah, they
curious
did
about
late,
that.
And it will still let people out. It just won't let
Yes.
more people in.
Yeah, the
Okay.
gate will let you out.
That's what I was wondering. I'm like, who's getting that phone call?
No.
And finally, I'm sorry, just any word from the possible DOT reimbursement for the Kennebunk Pond?
So I feel like we're repeating ourselves a lot. Okay, when the signs get installed,
I'm sorry.
Maine DOT comes out and inspects it. And if they feel really good about it, they'll give us up to $5,000, not
Mhm.
5,000,
Right.
maybe we're lucky, but up to,
So after the
So-
installation of the signs,
yes.
I'm sorry.
I have some others.
I have another.
You're good.
I have
You?
another.
Go ahead.
Okay, so my other would just be that maybe we don't have others that can be addressed during the weeks between the meetings. I feel like, Joe, you have good questions, but those are questions that you could pick up the phone, you could come in, you could have those conversations with Lindsay before the meeting so that you would already have your answers to those questions. That's my other.
And the other end of the table?
Knit one, purl two. That's my other.
What do you make of?
You're just jealous. I don't know.
I think a scarf.
Mine are just really brief updates of things that come in today, that I wanted you guys to be updated with. So I spoke with the, forester who's gonna be doing like the timber harvesting and stuff. He's gonna start working on collecting, basically bids for the timber harvest. And, they work with multiple vendors that, they have a history with, they're comfortable with, but they're gonna still try to get multiple bids. So I guess they do a bid by invitation, if you guys are okay with that. Cause they'll still provide the recommendation of like, this is who we work with, and they're still going to look for the best optimal prices that we can get. So that's where we're at with that. I did tell them, cause there's a couple landlocked parcels in our groupings that we wanted to work with, and I told them, if we can kind of, some of this stuff will have to take place like after the ground thaws because the property is really wet. So I asked them to sort of focus on the landlocked ones first, so that if we wanted to come back to the table and start picking, which ones we may want to, put up for sale. So I asked them to do that. So other than, any questions or anything? No? Okay. Kennebunk Pond Gate, if you're not aware already, it has been vandalized. So that happened Sunday night at like 10:15 p.m. Somebody had intentionally broken the gate arm off for the inside. So we did put a call out to York County Deputy Sheriff. Vicky Sawyer left me a card today. So I'm trying to connect with them just to get updates on the report. I won't have any more information until I speak with them. We do have surveillance footage. I'm not gonna blast it all over the internet because I'm not promoting a witch hunt. But I'll be probably providing that to the York County Sheriffs and maybe asking if we can pursue pressing charges or something to reclaim. And even if, whether we do that or not, we're still going to have to, the gate arm is completely broken off. So we would have to pay for that. That's not under warranty, which the gate company said it's like $488 to replace the arm. And then there's shipping and there's labor involved. So I would say under $1,000.
And so when you meet with or talk to the sheriff, we can seek those damages back, correct?
And
That's what I would like.
That's
to
the
know.
typical way we've handled it, like,
Now, will we be successful in it? I don't know.
yeah, I hear you.
here's my opinion on that. If we went to the trouble of putting up cameras and we have surveillance and we have information that we know who did it, I say
Go for it.
get after it because that's why we did that stuff. And it's really, if it was done intentionally, it's not cool.
Yeah, the last time it was accident with
Right.
the boat.
Yeah.
Trailer, I mean, it was totally an accident.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like the sort of balance, cameras definitely helped out a lot. So I also got a suggestion, from Ken Burr, I thought it was a great suggestion, people are cutting the corner and like hitting those little plants just on the
Yep.
corner. So he thought if we can get some big rocks, which
We're-
someone had told me in the association, the Pines Association down there, I think they might have some rocks. they can get.
Start signing.
So I'll try to figure out if I can get rocks put down there, hopefully no cost or anything.
Let me know if you can't, I make know somewhere, we can get some rocks.
I-
Just
Okay.
I had a thought on that as well,
Mhm.
because of plowing and whatnot, that if you put something narrow and tall,
So they make those
That-
like fiberglass orange reflector. I use them for my driveway, so my plow guy doesn't mess up my yard. But yeah, we may want to they're cheap at Home
Because-
Depot and like stick them in the ground.
well, big rocks can be moved and they actually cause more damage when they're being moved, whether it's by accident or on purpose.
Right.
But I was thinking more of not the small fiberglass rod, but almost a pipe type looking
A
thing,
baller,
or a piece of granite that standing up on its end that's nice and tall so you can see it over your dump truck. I took one of those down once by accident. So just saying, but I can see the issue and it's,
Yeah,
And
that's
I-
a really good point. 'Cause we don't want our vendors to have to deal with
especially
that.
boat trailers, you're making a wide sweep. But it looks like trucks. It almost looks intentional sometimes but I'm not gonna say it is. I don't,
So I was gonna update on the flashing lights, but we already covered that. And then just another quick update, so we put in the budget to hire a part-time admin clerk, so I'll be working on like developing that scope. I'm just apprising you guys so you know, if you see we're hiring, we'll be hiring soon, maybe in the next month or so, I have to develop like job descriptions and kind of figure out a few other logistics. And the transfer station, we're looking at doing like a per diem person to fill in when people are out. So that would be managed within our budget as well. And so those are new coming things for like employment opportunities. And
Cool.
that's the only updates I have, are just things I wanted to let you guys know.
Awesome.
thank you.
Thanks.
Use the restroom. You can sign first.
Thanks, Gabrielle. Lindsay, we'll put this back
Done?
together with
Mhm,
the
thank you.
mail. I think Amber wanted the.
Oh, wait, I'll run it since she's
Oh,
gone.
I was.
Take it
I
over.
can
I got you, Dave, I got you.
I think if you wanna, if you can get us the whole thing.
Yeah, I
If
don't think
it's on
Steve
there,
filled it
yeah.
back, so. I'll scan it and email it to you guys.
Awesome.
I don't know who put the star on this chair, but it thrills me to know it. Whoever did it, thank you. I like it.
Safe side garbage.
Oh, does that make a difference? Who you play next?
Who plays tomorrow? It's crazy what new technology these days.
Some people can.
No, I don't even know how to do any of this stuff. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna actually watch that anyway.
It's information, meeting wasn't recorded, but, the newer member, she's amazing. Apparently, some of the schools in the district are moving up the line to be renovated or done or whatever. I guess there's a pecking order, so RSU 57 is hitting the upper on the list, so we're trying to get more information. Because we're trying to learn how it gets funded. It's a whole sits down. Interesting.
We're getting there.
I hope they can hear you.
Oh, my wife, you just signing. But I felt bad, she was saying, one of the schools, their art in their music is on cards. Like they don't have they move on cards too. Lots of small schools.
Oh, you know what? I'm so sorry, but I signed that one that I abstained. That AP 2025 one. It's like
It's
800.
okay. You can still sign it, can't you? Even though you abstained from it?
Okay. I mean, I can do that, just in case anybody says you abstain. And you sign it. I was just,
That's not the vote, though. That's just the approval.
well,
I understand, though. I'd do the same thing.
I will entertain a motion if anyone has one.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
No,
All in
just a,
favor?
just a reminder that Music in the Park begins on July 11th, I believe, at 6:30. Granite Planet, I think, is on tap. But I think it might conflict with, Michelle, a comprehensive plan meeting. Are you on for 7-Eleven as well?
Is it a Thursday?
Yes.
Yeah, it might be, we'll open the windows.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Perfect.
And if I may, before you vote, the, that website for the maps is main.maps.arcgis.com.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you, David.
thanks, everyone.
I'm not sure where to go, but it's in there.
It's on that website.
Are there broken links, maybe?
Yeah, there may be, yeah. I break them.
Peggy's email was pretty